What's up, guys? Today we're doing something very special. Yep, that's right, you guessed it. We're putting lights on the Corolla. Now, as you can see, this car has the old style headlights where the beam goes through this lens and that's where it focuses straight onto the road. And honestly, they're not the best. Yes, I did replace the bulbs with some brighter bulbs, but they're still not very bright. The high beams, I'm gonna be honest, they kind of suck. So these, even though they are technically off-road lights, I will be using them as high beams. Obviously, I will only use them when there are no cars coming and no cars in front of me, because I'm not trying to blind people. I will be installing those as an extra set of high beams, so to speak. Now these are, as you can see, each of them has 6 LEDs. They are pretty powerful. I tested them a couple days ago just by touching the positive and negative terminals to my battery, and they are so bright. They each have, I believe, 1,950 lumens, which I know doesn't tell you much, but I googled it and apparently the average high beam of a car is only 1,200 lumens. So this is a lot more. And because they're LEDs with a spot beam, not a flood beam, meaning if you can see, that mirror is perfectly round in there and it focuses the beam straight ahead and doesn't disperse it to the side much, that will make it really, really powerful and make it go really far, which is exactly what I want. I want lights that can go further out in the distance, because if I want something to light up the road in front of me, obviously I just have the headlights. So that is why I want these, and we will be putting them on the Corolla today. Now obviously we're doing electrical work, so you're going to need some basic electrical connections and such, and I honestly don't really know exactly the parts you'll need because I haven't actually thought it through yet. So watch the video first and I will let you know as I go what parts I use. Now, as always, when you do electrical work on a car, it's always good to disconnect the negative terminal of the battery. So let's do that first before we get started. That way we don't forget. Just loosen it up, take it off, and put it somewhere where it will not jump back onto the terminal. There we go, that's perfect. Alright, so first of all, decide where you want to put your lights. I want to put them here eventually, but for now I have decided to put them under the bumper. Well, I mean, yeah, in the bumper. And the way I've done it is I could take the bumper off and slide them in from underneath or above, but I have chosen the quick method, which is chopping up some parts of the bumper and making it all work a little bit smoother. I'll just say that. Alright, so to run the wires, I've chosen to go from the battery up here, route them through the engine bay up to here, and then there's actually a rubber grommet down there somewhere that connects to inside of the car, and it'll come out right near the clutch or the brake pedal on this side. So what you need to do is actually remove this plastic wheel well cover here, or whatever it's called. So let's do that. It's held on by a couple 10mm bolts.
I won't let anybody hurt you.
And you actually also have to remove this over here.
So many times.
Huh. There was supposed to be a third screw here. I guess I lost it. Okay. Yeah, clearly it's not there because this is held on by this third screw as well. So, just make sure you don't lose them, I guess. Now, the rest of it is held on by these really, really, really annoying clips. You can use panel removing tools to get these off, but I don't have any, so I'm gonna do it my way. one. Don't lose these, because if you do, you're probably gonna either end up somehow needing to zip tie this or running to the junkyard to get more, because otherwise this is gonna flap around on your wheel. Now this is tucked behind the fender here, so I'll just move it out of the way. Aha! And let me show you what we have here. Alright, so see that rubber grommet right there? That's where a lot of wires go in to the fuse box by the driver's side, and that's where I ran my wire for the subwoofer. And it comes out from the engine bay right there, which is, I don't know if you can see very well. Let me get my small flashlight. That is the brake booster right there with the brake master cylinder, and that's the clutch master cylinder, and it goes right behind that clutch master cylinder down there. Now I ran the wire this way, tucked it in behind the battery, between the battery and the fuse box, and went to the positive terminal of the battery. And that is exactly what I'm going to do with these wires, except I will run them from the negative terminal, because what I'll do is I'll run the positive wires from here straight down there to the lights, and then the negative terminal I will connect, and then I'll ground the lights somewhere in there, and then I'll connect the negative terminal of the battery to my switch in the car, which will then be grounded to the chassis somewhere inside the car. And I have removed that panel right there, and I put the fuse, I put the switch in it, and it will sit right there. But I'll show you that later. First, let's sort out the wiring. Alright, so what you're seeing here is actually some speaker wire, and that's what I'm going to use to wire the lights. It's pretty thick. It's actually thicker than the wire that came on the lights, so that's why I chose it. It's perfect for the job. And I'm just going to separate the two wires so that I can run, you know, single wires basically. And then let's continue. Alright, so now that I've separated the wires, as you can see, this one's just a single wire. You want to get your wire cutters and just cut off the end so that it's you work with a nice clean tip here. And then you want to find the appropriate crimp-on connector. Now I bought these from Walmart. They're great. I used them for the subwoofer, and I'm going to use them again for the lights. So it's like, it was like $3 or $4 for these, and you get a lot of them. So just you know, get a box of these, you'll be set for a while. Alright, now you want to strip the end of it, and the largest one I have is a 10 gauge, so I'm going to start with that just to make sure I don't cut any of the wire. Yeah, it's not 10, it's 12 probably. So 12 gauge, there we go. And then you put it in. Take either crimping pliers or a big pair of pliers like these, and then squeeze this connection really hard until it crimps it down. There we go. And then you can just pull on it a little bit to make sure it's in there well, and it is. And that is the wire that we will attach to the negative battery terminal. Alright, so now that you've cut the end of the wire, what you want to do is come in here and remove this piece of trim right here. And the way you do that, it's actually pretty simple. You just pull up on it. I've already done this, but oops, careful not to lose these clips here, because they're very important for reattaching it. There is a screw, or not a screw, but there's some sort of a clip that screws on back there. You'll see it. I can't really show you because I can't get the camera in there and get enough light to show you, but it's right here. You'll see it. Just unscrew it and then keep popping this out. One of my clips actually stayed in there, so I'm gonna have to pry that out with something. So after you get this off, you'll see all of these fuses and wires back there. And if you recognize this, this is my subwoofer wire that I ran. and it comes in right there. Let me try and get a shot of it so I can show you. Alright, so there you go. It comes out from right back there, and I'm going to start disconnecting these connections here so that we can get access to that little rubber grommet back there to put our new cable through. Alright, well this is the best I could do, so I guess just watch me disconnect all of these. Just one thing before I start, don't worry about forgetting where they go, because no two connectors are the same, so you literally cannot put them in the wrong place. So just don't worry about it. Sorry if you can't see this, but I can't either. I guess this unscrews. This is the little footrest for your foot. That's bolted onto the carpet. Keep in mind that it actually unscrews. You have to take these two caps off. Don't just rip it out like I did. I actually cracked one of the things that hold it in place. Alright, so because I can't get this connector disconnected here, I'm gonna disconnect this ground right here, because we'll be using this to ground the wire that we run from the battery. And I will also undo this bolt right here, which as far as I remember will loosen up some of this whole like fuse box slash connector box or whatever, so that we can move it out of the way a little bit so we can get behind it right there to feed the cable through for the lights. So let's get to that. What you'll need is either a small wrench or a tiny ratchet like this, so that you can actually fit it in here. And it's a 10mm bolt here. Now there are 3 connections on this, so this is pretty important not to lose this bolt, and it has 2 washers on it. So keep in mind, this is a special bolt with 2 washers on it. You move this out of the way, and then we undo this one. I think it should come out by hand now. Yeah, okay, so there it is. This is a pretty long bolt because it goes through the whole fuse box. Again, this one also has 2 washers for some reason, a big one and a small one. So keep that in mind, don't lose it. This, how did I get it? Oh, yep, it moves a little bit. Oh, if you want, you can also take this out. I don't see how that would help much, but it can. If you think this is a lot of wiring, you should work on a new car, a modern one, which is basically made out of wiring. Alright, so now to route the wire, you've crimped one end, and honestly it would be easier just to not crimp it yet, but if you have, take the loose end and take a piece of wire. Let me get my flashlight so you can see. So as you can see, I put a piece of wire in there. It's pretty hard wire, and it's actually thicker than I wanted it to be, but it fit through with a lot of wiggling. I think it took me like 10 or 15 minutes to get this through, because I'll show you in a second, but on the other side you have to get this wire through a hole that's not straight ahead, and the hole is about half the size of this grommet. So, and you have to like bend it to the left and down. So it's pretty complicated. I tried going in from the other side, I tried going in from this side, but that didn't really work either because I couldn't find the hole, because the hole that you want it to go through is behind this thing right here, as you can see. This is my wire that came out on the other side. So what I'm going to do now is get myself a piece of electrical tape, tape the wire to the end of this, tape the cable to the end of this piece of wire here, and then continue to fish it through. Okay, so now that I've taped, you can't really see it, but now that I've taped my two cables together, two wires, I will go ahead and pull this through. As you see, here's the wire that I fed through from the other side. Just be careful not to poke any of these wires and accidentally ruin them, because obviously that would cause a much bigger problem. Here is my wire, and I will now disconnect it from my improvisation here. And there we go. I think this is honestly the hardest part, getting around this fuse box and running the wire. Because after this, we can put this back, we can put the fender cover on, and then all we have to do is connect the lights and connect this to the switch up here, and that's pretty much it. Okay, so at this point you want to start routing your cable up to here so that you can attach it to this switch that you have. And what I did is I popped this little panel here, I popped it out, and then I drilled a hole of this size into it, and I took the back of it and hot glued it to the back of this little plastic plate here, and then attached the on and off label, screwed it on. So hopefully this works. So as I said, start routing your cable up here and get it poking through, and then we can work on attaching it to this, and then you will need another cable that will run back down here all the way down to the ground right there. Alright, so now that this cable is hanging out of here, what you want to do is take a screwdriver so we can undo these screws right here so that we can attach the cable to it. So find an appropriate size connector, take the screw off, and find one that just barely fits in here. And this one looks like it's perfect. So what you want to do is now connect the connector to the wire. So you have to strip the wire, and as far as I remember, this is a 12 gauge. So take your wire strippers, strip it off, give it a little twist, and then connect this. Take your crimping pliers, or in my case just regular pliers. I need to get myself some crimping pliers, and then crimp it down as tight as you can. Give it a little tug to make sure it stays in there, and it does. What you want to do now is take your screw and put this through. Make it nice and snug. And now you want to take a short wire, and this short wire, mine has a little attachment at the end, so I'll just cut that off and then strip it again, and then you basically repeat the same process. You just have to make sure that whatever connector you put on this fits around this screw so we can ground it down there. So same deal, slide it in, crimp it down, give it a little tug, make sure it stays in there, and it does. So, and now you want to wire this one backwards, so you feed it down through the hole and catch it on the other side. Now I would say once you've fed this wire through for the ground backwards, start reassembling this so that you can connect it here, so that you know where to cut the other end and how long to make it. now that we've connected all of them, just double check and make sure that they are actually all connected, because these are important connections. These are like, there's your starter, the fuel pump, probably other things too, so just make sure everything is connected. Like this is a speaker right here, so it doesn't really matter if you forget it. You can just go back and reconnect it, but why go through the process twice when you can do it once, right? Alright. So now put back any piece of trim that you might have removed for easier access. Now it's time to re-ground these wires here. So this old wire, take this new wire, put the bolt through them. And now all you have to do is tighten it back down. Alright, so just make it snug. Now our wire is grounded. Alright, so now that our wire is grounded, we want to come back up here and cut it to the same length as the other one so that they stick out the same. And we will do that right now. Snug. Alright, now comes the moment that I've been waiting for a really long time. Look at this. This is awesome. This switch has a pretty satisfying click to it. It's pretty nice. Alright, so if you remember, down here where the grommet is, we have to get the wire through that hole there, so that it comes out in the engine bay. Just feed it through as much as you can, and then come here up top. There it is, and just pull all of it through. Alright, now that all of it is pulled through, we can start routing it to where we want it to be. Okay, so what I'm going to do is to route this is cut these zip ties here and here, and then I'm going to wire this the same way. Wow, I really overestimated this. Look how much extra wire I have. I guess I'll just cut it here and here. And that's where the fuse is going to go, because don't forget, we do need a fuse. So let me just cut these zip ties here. That's one. That's two. Alright, so now we get ourselves some new zip ties. We should only need two. And get ourselves the fuse. So I looked on the questions, the Q&As for the lights, and they said, people said that they were running 10 amp fuses on both. So I got this 20 amp fuse at Walmart. I'm actually running this same one for my subwoofer, and it's not a powerful one, it's a very weak one, so it's I think I put in a 15 amp fuse or something, and since I still have some left over, I'm gonna run the same fuse in here. Alright, here's my dirty 15 amp fuse. I'm gonna clean it up a little bit. As you can see, it's perfectly fine. I'm just gonna slide it in here. And then put the cap back on. That's it. As you can see, I have this exact same one for my sub, also running a 15 amp fuse. So let's go ahead and wire this up. Alright, so to wire this all up, I've already gone ahead and zip tied these here. To wire this all up, I will be using these crimp connectors. So the way it's going to go is this will go, whoops, if it wants to fit, this will go into the crimp connector, and then the wire on the other end, crimp it, next side, and that's pretty much it. It's pretty straightforward. The hardest part is getting this to the right length so that you don't have a bunch of wire hanging around here. So I'm going to cut this one right here, strip the end of it. Well, that's not supposed to happen.
Home is you and me.
Now you do the other side, and we don't need a lot of this because this fuse is going to live right here. So there's actually a lot of leftover wire.
Drive me down to the city light. Faster and faster. We burst into life. Graffiti in our hands and fuel at our feet.
Alright, now we want to go back in the car. I've, as you know, connected everything here. Now we need to put this piece of trim back, but before we do that we need to pop this clip out so that we can actually clip it back into place. And then all we have to do is start thinking about how we're going to attach these lights to the front bumper, and then wire them up and ground them, connect them to the positive terminal of the battery, and then we're pretty much done. Then it's time to test them out. Alright, trim is back. I put all the clips back. I actually use this wire stripper plier thing to pop it out. That stuck clip back there. There's this plastic, sort of, not even a clip, it's kind of screws onto a bolt, but it's plastic. And I used that, I threaded that back on. Now, this is the clip from part of that fender, or the inner lining for the fender. And I think it's time to put this thing back. Alright, so to put this back, it's actually pretty simple. If you remember the process that we took to take it off, pretty much like a couple bolts, one there, and then a couple clips here and here, and then you put the little mud flap or whatever you want to call it back on. And that's pretty much it. Alright, so now that this is back on, let's try installing the lights.